feel like we're just gonna do this kind of like mandatory toast.
Just man. It just has to happen, and it's like when you open up a bottle of wine. If you don't cheers,
Bad luck.
it's bad luck. So you know,
But,
it has to happen.
yeah, mate, we're kind of halfway through. Well, not even halfway through. We're probably about 1% through our journey and our talking points. But yeah, just kind of like we were talking about just before. Obviously, we picked this back up. We were talking about going through phases of development, phases of our lives that we realised that we're making that transition. When was it for you that kind of really ignited you to want to pursue the career of it being in sport, working with young people, children, football? Just kind of how did that all intertwine into just one sort of passion?
You know what? I was very lucky to have the kind of coaches I had growing up. I was always a talented sports person that came from a cricket background, where I was meant to be the next sensation and that. But being a very quick runner between the wickets, for those cricket fans don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Being a quick pace bowler. Again, I already had all the natural attributes, which we know now is transferable skills for other sports. Whereas as growing up, you didn't really understand it until really I reached 14, where high school football team and stuff like that. I weren't really into football at that age, but then you get a bit older, mixture of friends, circles you start hanging around with. They were more into football. Traditionally, it was more of an English thing as well. Being Jamaican and stuff, cricket was a big passion.
Yeah.
And athletics, so.
But almost a niche in a way, because
Yeah.
it's like, look at Jofra Archer.
Yeah.
How he's made it in the England team.
Big.
And I suppose in a way, like, from a white man talking to a black man in terms of his aspirations for career, it's like as if that's kind of like a niche in itself, a uniqueness that you've wanted to always come from. Like, because if you look at cricket's often associated with the aristocratic elite establishment, but you're always kind of passionate about it because of your athleticism and your commitment to it.
Yeah, like, to be honest, like, I think that's why I lost the love of cricket for that similar stereotype I found challenging as I kept going up the ranks and kept getting into the more established team, even as a youngster, getting brought into like Middlesex and that high level club, which is a professional club at them young ages. You're surrounded by these guys who could buy their way there.
Yeah.
You know, you get these 90% of the kids are from posh private schools.
Harrow, Eton, all these places, yeah.
You know, so being from the areas I was from, I wasn't used to that. So then I found myself surrounded by people I could relate with, apart from being on the field.
Yeah, and picking up that level of intelligence because you kind of like felt you assembled yourself within that demographic.
And I just started my local friends, the people that I hanged around with, and even I went to a bloody state school, so for us, cricket was not the biggest sport.
Yeah.
I excelled in it, but school football was the main sport, you know. So when I started hanging around with the guys that I grew up with in Harlem and stuff like that, football was the main thing. So naturally, because your friends are doing it, you end up doing it. So yeah, that's what started my passion for football.
It's almost a magnetic feeling, like people doing it around you, and
gravitating.
Gravitating.
There you go. So basically that was it. That birthed the love of the game. Started getting really involved. I was very quick, so that was natural for a coach.
Yeah.
Back in our days, football was very one-dimensional. Kick it long, the quick guy chases it. You know, the big centre back, boof, big header. That sort of nonsense football, but it's dinosaur football we call it because it's gone out of the game now. But that was the birth for me. The love, the joy, the enthusiasm, the banter that comes along with the game. So it's quite a lot of stuff that you pick up, you know, popularity, friends, all of that. Joining in that sort of t-shirt war where what kit's that? So all of those sort of banners. That was the main sort of attraction for me. And then once I got brought in through that little route. Yeah, and as I said, I was already an athlete. I was very fit. I was very fast. I was rapid. So naturally, I was not even good. I wouldn't say I was technically good, but I was able to apply those skills.
Yeah.
To then stand out. Growing up, then having my mentors and stuff like that directing me to take coaching courses. I then pick up the skills of how to learn the game, understand the game, because I started late. Started working with younger kids. From I was in school, I always was mentoring the younger ones. So then when I started coaching, and then you pick up those natural skills, it was easy. Yeah, so that was it. Like literally, I always knew. Once I didn't make it as well, that just confirmed that what's my other purpose? Maybe it's coaching.
Yeah. How much has the game of football evolved since you've kind of been introduced to it? And also, I suppose looking at it from an outside perspective, being from cricket and then making that jump to football. I mean, two completely different sports,
Yeah.
but I always like to reiterate that sport is very interlinked because it's got so many different values and core values that we kind of dismiss in a way.
Yeah. The disciplines really will always make an athlete stand out.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing with me from a young age. I always took everything very professional, very serious. So my discipline was always key, and it came to learning the game and understanding the game to where I developed, I think, quicker as a coach.
Yeah.
And I found that transition so easy. So to answer the question of how much it's evolved, as I said, it went from that dinosaur age of booting it long and chasing it to now, are you technically and tactically gifted to adjust? It's all about the mind now. So it went from a physical aspect and being a physical specimen or having a natural ability to now go to the other side of now it's pretty much an academic sort of sport where
profession.
It's a bit of chess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like when you look at the money invested now, we're not just looking at bodies anymore, cells running around. We're actually investing in intelligence.
Yeah.
Superhumans, as some people call them.
And it brings that sort of age of technology where it's like commercial scalability now. It's talking about the future. But footballers kind of being more than just a prototype of just being a footballer on the pitch. It's more how they sell themselves outside of football.
Market. Branding.
Yeah.
So that's the image now of the modern day football is all about brand. The individual is a brand. The club is a brand. The Premier League is a brand. The La Liga is a brand.
The Champions League is a brand.
It's all a brand.
The FIFA World Cup is a brand. The Euros, it all kind of...
The games... So football was always a brand, but it was different starting from what it was to when I was growing up to now. Now it's so much more marketable that you get teams basing themselves on an idea. That word philosophy is thrown around a lot, and it's the idea of what you think football should be like. And now, can you sell that image? Can you now portray in your mind the array of skills, direction, intelligence, understanding? Can you communicate that to 11 players, 15 players, whoever might be in your squad? And can those players then take that onto a pitch and perform and deliver? And is it entertaining enough? Are the viewers, spectators, engaging in your squad, and can they relate to it, and do they identify what you're doing? Because if they don't, it only goes one way. You're not going to be very successful because no one's going to follow you, no one's going to watch, no one's going to see your ideas as talent.
And I guess football and boxing, all these other mainstream sports, even though maybe you perceive football as kind of the pinnacle of mainstream, it's all about identity. It's how the footballer perceives themselves, but also more than just an individual, because it's a collective sport. Boxing's an individual sport, and like you said there about the marketing, boxing now is all about the brand. It's all about the commercial scalability. It's all about the networks, the global dynamics. You know, going abroad, having all these territories wanting to invest back in the sport, Whereas football as well has always been global. It's always been a globally. It's like a language. Football is like a language to a lot of people. You know, boxing not necessarily is a language. It's more of a choice of discipline. Whereas football, it has all those ingredients, but it's more than that. It's a culture. It's a way of life.
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot. As I said, there's a lot to learn from it.
Yeah.
And when you look at what football gives you, friendships, families, create bonds, create a society. When you look at some of these historically well-known clubs, Millwall might not be known to the 10-year-olds of today.
Yeah.
But you go back 20 years, it's a massive history.
Yeah.
That's like a cult.
Yeah. Hence why it's kind of fueled their success in terms of the fan base, because even though they're not a high level club in terms of the Premiership and the money and the investment that's gone into big clubs like Manchester City and Chelsea and Man United, they've got that long-standing tradition.
That is everything, and it means so much to them.
To the philosophy of the club.
So, and that's what I mean by, there's just so much more now to why I look at what I'm trying to do with Foots UK, and it's about building that identity.
Yeah.
It's about building that image. It's like when you've got a way, and it's not about being the right or wrong way, because I don't believe there is a right or wrong.
Yeah.
But you create your own path, and as you're creating your path, it's the message you want to give on or pass on that will make you stand out and make others see, seek, and either share or join in. And that's literally what our identity is going to be. We're going to create, so Foots UK, loads of people don't understand what that actually means. It focus only on the skills. And if you apply these things, you'll find it's a lot easier to learn.
Yeah.
The transitional skills, the sports, whether it's a basketball, football, swimming, rugby, golf, these skills are all transferable.
Yeah.
Because it's one aspect you need to take that time into consideration, break it down, and then the second follows easily. So that's what Foots UK actually stands for, and that's where it started, to be honest, and that's where the idea is cemented from. And I'm just looking at everything now as each day as it comes.
Yeah. So you've got the name, you've got the brand, you've got the vision. How do you then entice people to want to believe in that brand? Because it's very easy to have a brand out there, have the publication of a brand, tell people that Foots UK is going to ignite and transcend young people's careers, whether they choose to have a career in football or whether they even just have a career because it's stemmed from that knowing that you can go into a new world and learn a skill, learn a discipline, learn an art, and then formulate the plan to want to do something with your life in terms of maybe, is there a convertible mechanism there for people to take that?
Well, as I say to most people that even trying to create their own, working for someone else, or they're a player or a participant, Foots UK is designed to, or is built to encourage others to chase their dream. Now, whether you are a part of what we are creating, you could look at the identity and what we stand for and sort of emulate what we're saying. So it's not a matter of how, it's look at what the foundation is. Look at what we're saying.
Yeah.
Focus only on the skill as a message. Now, whether you look at my sessions, whether you come to me to coach you, whether you read in between the lines and then go and do your own thing, the message itself will show you the gate. It will show you the way. Now, I and the rest of my coaching squad will implement our message fully, and you'll see in our delivery with our passion, our commitment, and we video our sessions. So we'll do video analysis sessions with you. We'll sit down give you career paths. We will separate your strengths and weaknesses with you, similar to what an academy would do.
Identify sort of from another person that's done a session with you how they've done it, or how they've kind of altered their positioning, or even their balance, or their footwork.
All of that, even to the level of comparing where you might believe you're 6'3" centre back, and you've always been doing that, and the coaches you've worked with have always kept you to that. And then you come with us and we see other skills in you. And we identify, you understand the game a lot more. You've got a lot more to offer. You're very agile, you're very quick, you could be a forward.
Yeah.
So we could retrain your position.
And already you've adapted that mentality that you're not going to stick to one position. You're going to be flexible, and you're going to give,
So all of those dynamics are taken into consideration and are part of our pathway.
Yeah.
And it's critical thinking at the end of the day, because when you're trying to be clinical with your research or clinical with your method of delivery, all these things are aspects that must be considered, must be taken into account, and then the effect of that has to be greater. Because if the individual's looking to improve and be the best version of themselves, they're open. They're open for discussion. They're open for you to prove and show what is the next step. Most players that are what I work with, or at the level of close to an academy, they must have at least 6 to 7 gears. Now, most of these players are playing at gear 3 and don't know that there's another 4 levels to unlock. It's the coach to persuade that player and to put practices in place for that player to step up and go through these gears and understand the gear shift. How do I slow down? How do I pick up?
And reach your peak. And I guess as well, like when a footballer is kind of going through the motions, it feels as if they're stuck in the spot, because, like you said, they haven't uncovered those gears. But if you're able to convey that message to them that they're willing to go through. And do you find that the young people that you work with, they listen to that? Do they listen to that?
Yeah. I think the ones, I've been fortunate that players that have come to me and players that I work with on one-to-one are very open, and they're serious about what they want to do. I will say that they're very serious, very driven, and they understand, in my opinion, what it takes to be an athlete and what it takes to be a professional, and that is to open for criticism, open to improve, open to change, and open for new ideas. And once you're open like that, your reception of information allows you to see everything in black and white. So there's only one way to improve. It's clear. That route and that pathway is obvious for those individuals. And I must say that I've been fortunate, as I said, 100% of my clients have always been in that way. So I've not had anyone at the minute, fingers crossed, that wasn't. So I've had it easy so far, I suppose, in that sense, where the conversations have been easy.
There's always room to build.
Yeah. Because, as I said, the next levels are, it's easy to go through these gears with people, but when they reach the peak now, and they're the first year pros, there's that next shift, that pre-academy or that academy, and then the scholar, and then the pro or pre-pro, let's call it. That's the next gear, because that first year pro, trying to be into the first team, trying to get into a first team of another team, that's the next 2 gears that need to be unlocked. Because you're an 18, 17-year-old trying to get into a first team somewhere. There's a lot of talent there.
Is the average 17, 18-year-old thinking about the long term in terms of like signing that professional contract, or are they in a way skewed or maybe daunted by the fact that they have to go through those stages of development to realise that unlocking their full potential will have to take years of patience and years of sort of learning their craft with people like yourself, mentors, coaches, or are they almost glamorized by the high profile kind of stature that a professional footballer would bring?
No, I would say it's the opposite. No, I would say I don't even think that enter their forefront. To be honest with you, I don't.